Welcome to Veterinary. In this video, I'm going to talk about avian female reproductive system. In avian female reproductive system, we have to study the structure of the ovary, oviduct, and the process of egg formation. Okay, so first let us start with ovary. In case of most of the birds, left ovary is going to receive more germ cells and it is the only well-developed ovary. Okay, and the right ovary is going to regress. Just like that, there's only going to be the right vestigial oviduct while the left oviduct is well developed. Okay, so right one is vestigial and regressed while the left one, as you can see, it is well developed. Okay, then what are the structures of the ovary? So ovary is made up of a stalk here and follicles, which you can see here. Okay, and follicle itself has the growing developing follicle or ova along with the yolk inside, okay, covered by a follicular wall. So this is the follicular wall, which is a very vascular structure. Okay, and the stalk is made up of blood vessels, smooth muscles, and nerves. And in this follicle there's a part called stigma, and this stigma is an avascular region, okay, which is going to rupture during ovulation, so the ova will be released. Okay, so this is the main points about ovary. Now let us come to the structure of oviduct, which is often asked in the exams. Okay, so first let us start with infundibulum. Okay, infundibulum is the first part and it itself has two parts, ostium and chalaziferous region. Okay, now this is very important to note that ostium is the non-glandular part of the infundibulum. Okay, it is non-glandular part. Now, what is the significance of ostium? It acts as femore in case of birds. Okay, so in mammals, we have femore, which are the structures responsible for collecting the ova after the ovulation. Okay, in case of birds, they have ostium. Ostium is going to collect the ova. Okay, so see, it is the closest structure to the ovary. So we have ostium, and it is the closest structure to the ovary, and it is going to collect the ova after ovulation. Second thing, that it is non-glandular, so it is the site of fertilization in case of birds. Okay, so it is the site of fertilization. Why? Because the region immediately distal to ostium is chalaziferous region, and in this region there are glands which are responsible for the deposition of albumin. Okay, so after albumin is deposited over the ova and the yolk, fertilization cannot occur. Why? Because the sperm now cannot reach the ova. Okay, so the fertilization in case of birds can only occur in the ostium region, and this is very important. Why? Because you can imagine how short duration or short window of time the sperm has to fertilize the egg, and this is why in case of birds there are structures that are present for the storage of sperms. Okay, and we are going to talk about them a little bit later. Okay, so the important point here is ostium is the collecting structure, or it is the structure responsible for collecting the ova. Second, chalaziferous region, it is a glandular thick walled structure with mucus fold. Okay, and it is responsible for the deposition of albumin. Okay, so you can see this is the diagram of an egg, and this is the ova. This is the germinal disc where the actual ova is present, and the yellow part is the yolk. Okay, so there's a layer of thin albumin which is formed by the chalaziferous region. Okay, thin albumin doesn't mean that it is a very thin layer, rather than it is describing its viscosity. Okay, so it has less viscosity. One more thing, that chalaziferous region is also responsible for addition of electrolytes in the albumin. Okay, now one thing is often asked in the exam, that egg spends how much time in each individual part of the oviduct. So egg spends 150 to 13 minutes in the infundibulum. Okay, so you have to remember this data for all the parts. Okay, so this is it for the infundibulum. Now let us go to the magnum. As the name suggests, magnum is the longest and most coiled part of the oviduct. It is marked by sudden enlargement of the mucus folds, and the wall is thick and glandular. Okay, so magnum is the highly coiled part of the oviduct, and it is characterized by presence of large mucus folds. Okay, egg spends 2 to 3 hours in the magnum, very important. And what happens in the magnum? There's deposition of the thick albumin, as well as there's addition of electrolytes like sodium, magnesium, and calcium to the albumin. Okay, so this is the magnum region, and you can see that this is the most coiled part of the oviduct. And what is the significance of this coiling and presence of large mucus folds? So see, there's a structure called chalaza. Okay, and chalaza basically suspends the egg inside, sorry, not egg, the yolk along with the germinal disc inside the egg. Okay, and how this chalaza is formed? So suppose this is the magnum and there are folds like this. Okay, so when this yolk along with the albumin moves inside the magnum, there's a rotational force like this. Okay, and due to this rotation of the albumin, there is formation of the chalaza. Okay, so this is the significance of magnum. It is a very important region. In this region, most of the yolk deposition takes place as well as formation of chalaza. Okay, then there's isthmus. So isthmus, just like infundibulum, has two parts: non-glandular and glandular. Okay, in the glandular part, there's deposition of thin albumin. Okay, other than that, there's addition of extra proteins in the albumin, plus there's addition of outer and inner shell membrane. This is also very, very important. So there's outer shell membrane and inner shell membrane. Okay, and these shell membranes are found in the isthmus region of the oviduct. Okay, the egg remains in the isthmus for 1 to 1.5 hours. Okay, it has short, less prominent mucous folds. So how can you distinguish magnum from isthmus? First, isthmus is much less coiled as compared to magnum, and it is having less prominent mucous fold. Okay, so this is the isthmus region. Then we have the uterus, or more aptly called the shell gland. Okay, so uterus in birds is nothing like a uterus in case of mammals. Okay, it is completely a separate structure. It is a part of oviduct, and it is also called as shell gland. Why? Because the formation of the shell takes place in the shell gland or uterus. Okay, it is marked by longitudinal folds transected by transverse furrows forming a leaf-like laminae. Okay, so leaf-like laminae are present in shell gland. It has two parts: red region and the pouch. Okay, an egg spends around 20 hours in the uterus, and for the first 8 hours there's a process called plumping. Okay, and what is plumping? It means the addition of water to the albumin. Okay, so if you have been paying attention, in magnum there's addition of the electrolytes. Okay, in isthmus there's addition of the protein, and of course in infundibulum, magnum and isthmus, all three parts, there's addition of the albumin. And basically what we are seeing, the albumin is getting concentrated, but in shell gland there's addition of water. Okay, so it makes the albumin much more flowy and watery, and of course it provides water for the growing embryo. Second thing, after the first 8 hours, there's calcification of the shell. Okay, so the formation of the shell takes place in the shell gland, or we can say the calcification of shell takes place in the shell gland, and egg spends around 20 hours in uterus. Then the last part, or the distalmost part of the oviduct, is called vagina. It is an S-shaped structure. Okay, it is S-shaped structure due to the presence of smooth muscles and connective tissue. It is separated from the uterus by a uterovaginal sphincter, and it has thick muscular wall with thin folds and no glands. So vagina is non-glandular part of the oviduct. Okay, so in uterus the egg formation is completed. In vagina, what happens? Oviposition occurs. Oviposition means egg laying. Okay, then I've written one more point here, that uterovaginal junction is the main site of sperm storage tubules or spermatic fossulae. Sperms remain fertile in the spermatic fossulae for 7 to 14 days. So, in the beginning, I said that the sperms have a very short window of time for fertilization of the egg. Okay, and that is why birds have a structure called spermatic fossulae, which store the sperms, and the sperm remain fertile in these storage structures for 7 to 14 days. Now, remember one thing, that this is true for chicken. In case of birds, other birds like citizen birds and passerine birds, there are different structures. Okay, so the structures for the storage of sperms are very much different in different groups of birds. So this is it for the parts of oviduct. Now let us talk about some general things which are often asked in the exams, okay, related to the physiology of the reproductive system. So first thing which is asked is, what is vitellogenesis? Okay, so vitellogenesis is yolk formation. Okay, vitellogenesis is yolk formation, and it occurs in the liver. Okay, this is important. Then, which are the hormones which are responsible for the functioning of the female reproductive system? So, of course, we have estrogen, we have progesterone, we have FSH, follicular stimulating hormone, and LH, luteinizing hormone. And at last, we have prolactin. Okay, and this is often asked, what is the function of prolactin? So prolactin is responsible for brooding, okay, or it is responsible for brooding behavior. Okay, so if there's increase in the level of prolactin, the bird will stop laying eggs and then it will start incubating the eggs. Okay, so the motherly nature or the incubation instinct are developed by prolactin. Okay, and this is often asked in the exams. Okay, prolactin is responsible for brooding behavior. Then, how is the oviposition or egg laying going to occur? So, see, we have a hypothalamus, and hypothalamus is going to release a hormone called GnRH. Okay, gonadotrophin releasing hormone, and it is going to stimulate the release of two hormones called FSH and LH. Okay, and FSH is going to cause the development of the follicles. Okay, now let us I forgot one thing to discuss here in the ovary, the naming of the follicles. Okay, so we have white follicle, white small follicle, yellow small follicle, and then we have the follicles which are numbered in accordance with their sequence of ovulation. Okay, so we have post ovulatory follicle which has just ovulated. Okay, then there's the F1, which is the follicle which is going to be ovulated the next day, and similarly day after tomorrow we'll have F2, after that F3, after that F4, F5. Okay, the number can vary, but what is the meaning of this? They are the mature follicles, okay, which are going to be ovulated in the sequence of their numbering. So F1 is going to be ovulated tomorrow, F2 day after that, F3 day after that, like that. Okay, and small yellow follicle means it is immature follicle, but it has yolk in it. Okay, and small white follicle, this is the most immature stage of the follicle and it has no yolk in it. Okay, and the development of this follicle is stimulated by the hormone FSH. Now, what is going with LH? So, LH is the luteinizing hormone, and what it does, it do two things. One is vitellogenesis. Okay, it helps in the formation of the yolk. Second thing, it helps in calcium metabolization. Okay, and why calcium metabolism or calcium mobilization? For the formation of egg shell. Okay, so LH is responsible for calcium mobilization for the eggshell. Second thing, there is going to be an LH surge. Okay, so there's going to be a very high increase in the LH concentration. And what is it going to do? It is going to really cause release of a prostaglandin called PGF2 alpha. Okay, PGF2 alpha. And this PGF2 alpha is going to act on a structure called stigma, right? We discussed that the stigma is an avascular part of the follicle and it is going to rupture during ovulation. Okay, so LH surge is going to stimulate PGF2 alpha, which in turn is going to cause rupture of stigma leading to ovulation. Okay, then the post ovarian or ovulatory follicle. Okay, so basically what is left of the follicle, ova is released and the part which is left, this is called post ovulatory follicle. It is going to release PGF2 alpha and PGE1 and PGE2. So we have PGF2 alpha and PGE1 and 2. And what are they going to do? PGF2 alpha is going to act on the uterus and vagina. Okay, in uterus it will cause contraction, and in vagina, in the proximal part, it will cause contraction, and in the distal part, it will cause relaxation. Okay, and PGE1 and PGE2, they are going to cause the relaxation of the uterovaginal sphincter. So what is happening here? See, PGF2 alpha is going to cause contractions here, and there's a sphincter called uterovaginal sphincter, and this is going to be relaxed due to the action of PGE1 and PGE2. Okay, so the sphincter is now relaxed, and we have a well developed egg in the pouch region of the uterus, right? And because of the contractions which are caused by the prostaglandin PGF2 alpha, the egg is going to move into the vagina. Okay, and because of the relaxation in the distal part of the vagina here, the egg is going to transfer into the urodium part of the cloaca, and now it is going to be laid or released into the environment, which is called oviposition or egg laying. Okay, so this is basically the mechanism of egg laying. Okay, and there's another hormone called progesterone which is responsible for stopping the ovulation. Okay, so after post-ovulatory follicle is released, there's surge of progesterone, and this progesterone is going to stop further ovulation. So this is it for the female reproductive system in case of birds. I hope you like this video. If so, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and share this video with your friends. Thank you.